Hey everyone, it's Ed Stoney here with a hardcore Nuzlocke challenge. This time we're doing rock types only in Pokémon SoulSilver. The rock type is my least favorite type in all of Pokémon, in no small part because of its generally weak special defense and many Pokemon's 4x weaknesses. And in a game like SoulSilver, where this is especially true, it'll be really fun trying to balance everyone's strengths and weaknesses out. Or at least we'll die trying. Now, there are 11 different rock lines in Heart Gold and SoulSilver that you can technically obtain in Johto. However, the Omnite line is a Heart Gold exclusive, so we won't use them. In addition, I can also catch a Relicanth and a Cradily post-game, as well as obtain the other fossils then. Also, because of my no trade clause, I can't evolve Geodude into Golem, so it'll be stuck as a Graveler. Before starting, let's go over some rules. They'll be in the description, but some key ones for reference are that I can only catch the first viable encounter in each location, I can't catch duplicates of a line, no items in battle outside of held items, battle mode on set, if a Pokemon faints, it can no longer be used in battle, and there are level caps equal to a gym leader or league member's ace. With that out of the way, let's begin! Don't shrink me! Now, I should probably talk about my starter selection. I always try to pick my starters so that my rival will have the hardest team possible. In that spirit, however, giving him either a Totodile or a Chikorita would be similarly challenging actually, given the sheer number of double weaknesses to both grass and water. I decided to alternate the rival's starter by attempt as a result, because I thought it'd be more fun. In retrospect, and spoilers here, this took me more than one attempt. This might have made things a little harder for me because of Croconaut's early access to the special water gun. I get the Pokédex and beat my rival, meaning this run can finally begin. I go up to Route 46. Here I find and catch a Geodude I name Enroll. Enroll has a gentle nature, minus defense and plus special defense, which is actually pretty solid. Unfortunately, as I later learned, Enroll has probably the worst IVs of any Pokemon I've ever encountered, with everything but special attack being under 5. I make my way to Violet City, and here we can get our next encounter. Or, well, sorta. By talking to everyone's favorite TV Big Brother, we can utter the phrase, "White Smoke Satisfied Grass Girl." Hey, what kind of show is he on? We get an egg that ultimately will hatch into a Slugma. Slugma doesn't gain the rock type until it evolves, so we won't be able to use one until after the 7th gym, but at least we have one. Sprout is annoying though, and not just because all the trainers have Bellsprouts with Vine Whip. A move that Enroll is double weak to. I also have to worry about the cap. If Enroll hits level 14, that's a reset. So I did some training so that Enroll was on the cusp of level 13, and then faced the Elder. I made a dumb play by setting up Rock Polish even though I already apparently outsped. Bellsprout hit Vine Whip, sending Enroll to exactly half HP. Ouch! But now Rock Throw hits and KOs, also leveling our Boulder Boy up! Enroll outspeeds and takes out the second Bellsprout, but that was so much XP. I'm worried. Hoot Hoot's last, and one more Rock Throw gets the KO and... Phew, that was so close! I immediately run to Faulkner, who's weirdly defensive of flying types, right? He's not bad, but this fight was a little silly. Pidgey outspeeds and hits Tackle, doing pitiful damage before Rock Throw gets us to level 14. Pidgeotto's out now, and Gus does only a little damage, but Rock Throw leaves him in the yellow. He spams Roost a bunch, weakening Rock Throw's damage output. So finally, when his health is high enough, he uses Gust. Now Rock Throw can respond. It hits, and Pidgeotto survives on a sliver! Knowing a heal is coming, I decide to just Rock Polish. But Enroll's speed is so bad that Pidgeotto still outspeeds. But it doesn't matter because with the final Rock Throw, we get the KO and our first badge! Right after this, I get the HM for Rock Smash, and with it, I go to the Ruins of Elf for our next sort of encounter. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. So, I can get an Old Amber and a Dome Fossil here in SoulSilver. I wound up getting an Old Amber first, and then hunting for a Dome Fossil for like an hour, during which the Togepi egg I just got somehow hatched before my Slugma egg. But getting both felt like cheating to me, so what I decided to do was just keep the Old Amber and not revive the Dome Fossil, which is rough because I love Kabutops. It won't really matter for this part of the game, but it just felt unfair to me to get multiple catches here, even though these are items based. I'm still gonna count the Root Fossil in Cliff Cave as fine though, because I'm obtaining it from a different location, even if I'm reviving it in the same place. In Union Cave, I get my second usable encounter. In the basement, I find and catch an Onyx and name her Slide. Slide has a calm nature, minus attack and plus special defense. This is pretty bad, but in a way that's going to be helpful for me soon. But of course Onyx has a minus attack nature. I remember thinking it was so strong when I watched the show growing up, and then being so disappointed that it couldn't even take out Pokemon with double weaknesses to rock. But at least now I've got a hopefully helpful second team member. And after all that, my egg finally hatches. I named my new Slugma Cap, She's got Magma Armor, definitely the worst of her two abilities, but also a neutral hardy nature, which I'm really happy about. It's time to take on Team Rocket, an organization so scary that they could only be taken down by a 10-year-old kid. Proton calls himself the cruelest and scariest member of Team Rocket. Yeah man, I'm pretty sure a dude with a level 8 Zubat is terrifying. We clean him up pretty easily, but he has this incredible line about nobody liking Team Rocket here, like they've been persecuted or something instead of just being a crime organization. I decide to take on Bugsy early so that I can spend more time grinding for the rival battle. I lead with Slide, who does exactly half with the Rock Throw as Scyther sets up Focus Energy. This becomes a little less thanks to Scyther's Citrus Berry, so one more leaves him in the red as he goes for Leer. Bugsy heals, and now we're back where we started, with another taking him to half. Finally, after a quick attack, one more gets the job done, leveling Slide up to 16. Metapod survives a Rock Throw to hit a weak tackle, and then we trade misses weirdly enough before a final tackle KOs, leveling up Slide again! Now we hit a Rock Tomb, which we just learned, taking Kakuna out for the win. Now comes the single hardest part of this run, if you'll pardon the pun. In the second battle with the rival, he has a second stage starter with a doubly super effective attack. Water Gun is certainly weaker than Razor Leaf, and it uses a worse stat for Croconaw, but my Pokemon are considerably weaker on the special side, so it all balances out. I've been trying to boost my special defense wherever I can, but I have no idea if it'll work. After getting enrolled to level 18, it's time to go. Ghastly outspeeds and uses Mean Look, which is perfect. I hit Rock Polish, but Enroll is still pretty slow, so I decide to use another. This was a good call as Ghastly outspeeds and uses Spite, but now I'm good to go. Rock Throw crits and takes out Ghastly, not that it mattered, and I'm on to face Croconaw. I need a great magnitude here. I get magnitude 6, which just does a quarter. Croconaw hits Water Gun, which straight up KOs even after all that, effectively ending the run. I try with Slide, but she gets one hit too. I guess it's back to the starting line! Attempt 2, let's go! Because I'm alternating starters, I give my rival a Chikorita, so we'll see how that goes for Battle 2. I catch Enroll 2, who already has an interesting lonely nature, plus attack, minus defense, and Rock Head. She's already way better than her predecessor, so I just make my way to Violet City and get the Slugma egg using the less interesting Bicycle Tournament Adore Rivalry. I'm able to manage my experience better in Sprout Tower, so I have a slight amount more room to work with. Then my fight with Faulkner goes almost exactly the same. Pidgey hits Tackle, I take him out with Rock Throw. Pidgeotto hits Gust, which actually does less damage somehow, but then Rock Throw crits, taking him out instantly. Way less annoying than last time. I wind up with the old Amber again, and then make my way to Union Cape where I catch Onyx, who I named Stoner. I thought it was clever at least. She has a timid nature, minus attack and plus speed, which is basically extremely Onyx. We take down Proton, and then Stoner sweeps Bugsy. But now it's time for the big challenge. Here, my strategy is a little different. I need a little luck with the Ghastly, and then a lot with the Bayleaf. So long as Ghastly avoids Curse, I'm fine. And he just goes for Spite as Stoner hits a Rock Throw. Good. We miss a second, but Ghastly goes for Spite again, allowing a KO next turn. This brings out the big bad. With Bayleaf, I need a lot of setup, so I need to avoid Razor Leaf as long as possible. Fortunately, he doesn't go for Razor Leaf first as I set up Screech. Unfortunately, he goes for Reflect, so I'm gonna have to really hope he doesn't attack for a bit. I use a second Screech, and he uses Poison Powder, which is cured with the Pecha Berry that I detached. Next, I hit Rock Tomb to drop his speed, but he uses Razor Leaf. But misses! Incredible, the run's not dead yet. But then I miss Rock Tomb! Thankfully, he just goes for Synthesis. Next, I go for Rock Tomb again for another speed drop, and he finally uses a second Poison Powder. But Reflect ends now, so another Rock Tomb takes Bayleaf under half. Even if Bayleaf attacks now, we should be able to survive and take him out. Except Razor Leaf crits, causing Stoner to faint! Oh, that's brutal. Thankfully, she did enough work up front that Enroll can just finish the fight. Enroll now outspeeds and uses a Hearthstone boosted Rock Throw for the KO. I'm shaking now. We've gotten past the hardest part of this run for the first time. All that's left in my way is this Zubat. He outspeeds to use Supersonic, but misses. And then it's Enroll's turn. With a final Rock Throw, Zubat faints, ending the fight. We're now at the cap, but I'm in awe. Rest in peace, Stoner. You got us so far. But, this was to end in vain. See, even with no battles whatsoever between Rival 2 and the Goldenrod Gym, there are 2 required battles before Whitney. Again, less experience than I thought I might on the first one, giving me the cruelest glimpse of hope. But on the second, I have to face 3 Jigglypuff, all of whom give out a ton of experience. so Enroll goes over the cap, ending attempt 2. So, it goes without saying that this is a big problem, right? I need both Geodude and Onyx to survive Rival 2, something that requires even more luck than this last attempt got. So, what attempt do I actually get this on? Attempt number 24. That's right, this took me 2 whole days to make it past here. Except, I'd literally been recording so long that I didn't have the space for this footage. It just didn't record. This was absurd. I thought I was gonna go insane. That attempt didn't count. It wasn't on camera. So, when did I actually manage to make it through and record it? Attempt number 28. In this one, Enroll has a neutral serious nature. Stoner has a timid one again. Slugma, who I named Funk, has a mild nature, plus special attack and minus defense, which is good and bad. I found the old Amber first, so no Kabutops again this run, and my rival had a Chikorita again. So, okay, what happened here? 2 rock throws from Stoner take out Ghastly after a spite, and then Bayleaf is in. I use Screech as he sets up Reflect. I use a second as he goes for Poison Powder, but it misses and a Pecha Berry cures him, so that was a wash. I go for Screech again, and it hits this time thankfully, but Stoner gets poisoned. I think it's go time now. I hit Rock Tomb, which barely does anything, and Razor Leaf takes Stoner to 11 HP, 6 after poison. Stoner can survive one more turn if Bayleaf doesn't attack. I decide to risk it. He hits Rock Tomb, and it crits! Wow, that just solved all of my problems. I switch into Enroll as Zubat goes for Astonish, and then Supersonic misses, and I've got the win with the final Rock Throw. We're free at last. Dude, are you okay? In Goldenrod, this guy trusts a random kid to take care of and advertise his bike for nothing. That's probably why his business is failing. I get my 2 usable Pokemon to level 19, and now it's time to take Whitney on. I don't think this fight will be horrible, but it could cause some problems. I lead with Enroll. Clefairy uses Metronome and gets Flame Wheel, which crits! It only does 5 damage and doesn't burn though, so I guess that's chill. Enroll uses her own luck move and gets Magnitude 7 to take Clefairy just under half. Not bad! Clefairy uses Metronome again and gets Kinesis, which is scary, but Magnitude 6 hits and takes her out. Now it's the Miltank, who I really needed to plan for. I swap Stoner in and she goes for Stomp. After a couple more Stomps, Miltank goes for Attract. During this time, I try to go for Screeches to get Miltank's defense to -6. It's deeply tedious, but I make it happen. I wanted to lower her speed too, but Flinch's Attraction and misses really made it unpalatable. I give up and switch back to Enroll on a Stomp. Miltank hits a second Stomp, but no flinch, and one more Magnitude gets 8. And wow, Miltank just got 1 hit. I'm so proud. Keep your tears away from my Geodude, Whitney. After getting the Squirt Bottle, I run all the way to Route 36, where I can finally get my next usable Pokemon. A Sudowoodo I named Sham. Sham has a hasty nature, plus speed and minus defense, which is meh. I then run to Olivine, where I get the Good Rod. And while I'm in the city, I fish up my next encounter, a Corsola who I catch and name Swamp. He has Natural Cure, which is awesome, and a sassy nature, plus special defense and minus speed, which is surprisingly solid. I smoke a Team Rocket Grunt, who's being the worst kind of party guest, and then get Surf, which I teach to Swamp fast. I also head back to the game corner and play enough Voltorb Flip to pick up Ice Beam, which I also give to Swamp. Now it's time to fight Rival 3, who's actually a lot harder than I thought he'd be. Bayleaf now knows a special move, and I still don't have any resistances to him. Fortunately, I have an idea. I lead with Stoner, but he misses Rock Throw! Fortunately, Ghastly just uses Mean Look. A second takes Ghastly to half, but he just uses Confuse Ray, which prompts Stoner's Lumberry. A final one gets the KO. Now, with Bayleaf in, I use Sandstorm. This doubles all Rock-type Pokemon's special defense. Bayleaf hits Magical Leaf, but we survive on 11 HP. It's time to switch. I go into Sham, who takes a crit Magical Leaf to a third, but his Oranberry kicks in and sends him back to half. I hope this doesn't affect my plan. Because Bayleaf doesn't see the KO here, I pivot into Swamp as he misses a Poison Powder. Nice! Bayleaf uses Synthesis here, and Ice Beam sends him to a third. One more gets him above half, but Ice Beam crits! I don't think it mattered, but I'm not complaining. Magnemite is out next, and I swap into Enroll, who gets confused and hit with Sonic Boom, but powers through to take Magnemite out with Magnitude 9. Now Zubat comes in, and I switch to Swamp, but he also gets confused, so I begin this really tedious pivot between the two as neither can break out of confusion. Finally, I just give up and go for rollout. But Zubat survives on a sliver and confuses again. Can Enroll break through? She does to hit a final rollout for the win. I'm so glad that's over now. What a team effort. While training for Morty, Enroll evolves into a Graveler for our first evolution, but that's basically it, and now it's time to get badge number 4. I use Sandstorm against the Ghastly, and he uses Spite. After Stoner uses Rock Throw, I just get a mean look and finish Ghastly off. Morty sends in Gengar now, and I use Screech as he misses Hypnosis. There's not much more I want to do here, so I switch in Sham as Hypnosis misses again. Sweet. I get mean looked next, and then go for a feint attack that crits to take Gengar out. I think that mattered, though I was holding a Lumberry just in case and could have tanked a hit too. The weaker Haunter is in now, and uses Hypnosis, activating Sham's Lumberry before he counters with feint attack for the KO. Now it's just the stronger one, who goes for Nightshade, and then one final feint attack gets us the win. It's probably not great for my bones to have an Onyx land on them after we fell 2 stories, but thankfully I recover. We have to save Amphi, so I do a ton of maneuvering to get to Cyanwood without extra battles. Once I'm here, I'm able to get my next encounter. A Shuckle this sucker gives me to look after. He has a relaxed nature, plus defense and minus speed, which is great. Shuckle's gonna be an incredible staller. Now it's time to take on Chuck, who's actually the third big obstacle of the run somehow. His Primeape is manageable, but Polywrath, our nemesis of the run, is terrifying, with Surf, Focus Punch, and Hypnosis. There's only one Pokemon who can take Polywrath on in a way that's even vaguely possible. Swamp. I teach him Shadow Ball to help boost my chances a little. Primeape hits with Rock Slide, but no flinch, and Surf takes him just under half. After Double Team, a second Surf still connects for the KO. Now it's just the Polywrath. Polywrath goes for Body Slam immediately, but no paralysis as I hit Shadow Ball for a little damage. Hypnosis connects, but it activates Swamp's Chesto Berry, and then he gets a special defense drop. Incredible! Now Shadow Ball is doing around a quarter, but this activates Poliwrath's Citrus Berry. After a bit, I get Poliwrath to the red, and anticipating a heal, I use Recover. The process then restarts. I'm still hunting for more special defense drops, but I'm not getting any. Finally, I get Poliwrath down to a quarter after Swamp falls under half, and I misplay by continuing to go for Shadow Ball. But Chuck heals again! 2 more Shadow Balls go unpunished, and then Poliwrath uses Surf, sending Swamp all the way to 14 HP! But now he can respond with one final Shadow Ball for the win. This was a nightmare to plan for, and nothing about it felt consistent. I'm glad we're past it now at least. I get a call from Balba upon leaving the lighthouse, telling me the Safari Zone is open. I immediately head over, and because Larvitar is the default setting, I don't even need to worry about Safari Zone mechanics. I head in and catch one, naming him Punk. Punk has a timid nature and atrocious IVs, making this a kinda awful Larvitar, but at least I have a pseudo-legendary, the first I've ever gotten to use in a challenge. At level 30, he evolves into a Pupitar. I take on the surprisingly tricky Red Gyarados, and then immediately fly back to Mr. Pokemon, where I trade the red skill I find for an EXP share, allowing me to finally level up Funk until she evolves. I stumble upon a crime scene, but I'm too terrified to snitch, even with the type resistance. I love how the villains in this game are just LARPers. We get trapped in a double battle, but where was Lance in the meantime? Was he just not looking for the password? After getting my team to level 34, it's time for Price. While half of my Pokemon are weak to Ice, I think this fight is doable. This is one of the longer battles I've ever fought, and if I was smarter about predicting, it would have been faster, but still a bit of a slog. I lead with Enroll, who outspeeds to take Seal out with a single Earthquake. Atta girl. Dugong comes out next and uses Aurora Beam. Okay, we survived, but got the drop. That's so unfortunate. Rock Blast takes Dugong to a third as I switch to Sham. Aurora Beam doesn't drop, and then Dugong uses Rest as Rock Slide sends him to a Sliver. Price Hyper Potions, and then a second brings him right back. I went for Rock Slide anticipating a heal, but Dugong uses Sleep Talk and it gets Aurora Beam again, taking Sham just over half. But now Rock Slide finishes him off. It's just Piloswine left, and Mud Bomb hits way harder than I'd like as Low Kick takes Piloswine to half, but it doesn't activate his Citrus Berry. I switch to Shucky, and here's where the battle turns into a slog. I use Wrap as Piloswine sets up Hail. This triggers his berry, and then next turn, he uses Blizzard and gets a Freeze. Okay, how long will this last? Well, turn 2, Blizzard activates Shucky's Citrus Berry, and then turn 3, Shucky thaws out and can use Rest. That's perfect timing too. Now I can just stall out Blizzard and Mud Bomb using Wrap, Rock Tomb, and Rest. I get a little too caught up in my strategy and definitely could have used Encore when he set up Hail, but I get Piloswine low on PP eventually and switch to Swamp. Swamp comes in on an Ice Fang, he tanks pretty well. Then next turn he outspeeds and lands Surf to KO. Just 2 more badges to go. And I just head right over to Jasmine without even bothering to get to the cap. I lead with Enroll, who outspeeds and gets rid of Magnemite fast with an Earthquake. Steelix comes out next, and Earthquake takes her to exactly half as she thankfully just sets up Sandstorm. After throwing the fight, a second Earthquake takes her out. The second Magnemite is last, but here we get another outspeed and KO to get the penultimate badge. Team Rocket's taken over Goldenrod City, but this allows me to effortlessly cosplay as them until my cruel rival ruins it all. I make my way to Petrol, who's pretty tedious. I mean, look at my team after, but nothing too bad, and then it's time to face my rival. It's been a second, but I'm hoping I can overcome him easily this time. Now, I carefully planned for this fight, and then immediately undid all of my work by leading with Sham. I was too excited and I got ahead of myself. I feel like this is becoming something of a trend. Golbat hits Bite, but no flinch, and Rockslide gets the KO, leading directly into Meganium. My plan had been to lead with Punk here and then use Sandstorm, counting on that plus a Rindo Berry for protection, but that's clearly not gonna work. Instead, I've gotta go straight to part 2 of my Meganium plan and switch Shucky the Shuckle in as he uses Reflect. I click Encore, and he uses Poison Powder! That's ideal actually, though I would have worked on stalling him out of Petal Dance PP if he'd used that instead. But this is a huge break, because now I can just switch in Swamp, and sure, he gets poisoned, but now he can hit an Ice Beam for a third. The next one crits even, which I'm not complaining about at all. But I didn't realize I was holding my finger down on the A button, and I hit Ice Beam on Magnemite. Thankfully they don't use Spark, but that was really dumb. I switch to Enroll, who gets rid of them with an Earthquake as Sneasel comes out. He just uses Quick Attack, and Rock Blast hits twice for the KO. Incredible. Haunter is last, and I meant to use Sham here, but I decided to just go for Rock Blast. And he uses Curse! So we pretty easily KO him for the win. I think that was the most surprisingly easy battle I've ever had on this channel. Now that we've broken our rival's dreams, maybe he'll chill out a little. I find the director of the radio tower under the department store. Did they know about this? It feels like aiding a criminal org wouldn't be great for their bottom line, but what do I know? Proton's pretty easy for Team Rocket's scariest member, and Lyra, this isn't the time! But Ariana is awful. I lead with Punk, who can't even manage to take out the Arbok thanks to a Rock Slide miss and an Intimidate. So after Crunch takes him to 18 HP, he uses Sandstorm before I switch into Swamp. Swamp has to take 2 crunches before Surf takes Arbok out, and now I'm really worried for Vileplume. Vileplume outspeeds to hit Mega Drain, but with Sandstorm and a Rindo Berry, it only does about a quarter. But then Ice Beam does under half! No! Oh, this is so bad! I have to switch into Shucky now that Sandstorm's gone and just try to stall. This takes a while, but it ultimately works with the final Rock Tomb getting the KO. This actually levels Funk up to 38, where she can finally evolve and be usable. So we have that to look forward to after beating Murkrow. But I need to switch to Enroll first, and after 2 Nightshades that leave Enroll under a third, Rock Blast needs to connect. And it does, taking Murkrow out in 2 hits for the win. And what better reward than a brand new Pokemon in the process? Even though now I'm a bit underleveled, I sweep Archer with Punk. Okay, it's not a clean sweep, and I get pretty lucky, especially on Coughing, who flinches twice in a row, and on Houndoom, where I was totally susceptible to a crit looking back, but it wasn't that bad overall. The director uses Fake Out on me after. Why? I just saved him, that's so rude. On the Ice Path, I grab Waterfall, and this guy's okay with me taking it because he needs new shoes? There's so much to unpack here before I figure out the connection. I get to Blackthorn City, and outside of the move relearner, the only thing to do here is challenge Claire. Now, in contrast to my last gym battle, Claire in this run is one of the hardest leaders I've ever had to plan for. Kingdra's the biggest defender, but her Dragonair with Aqua Tail is scary too. My Pokemon mostly crumble to Water-type moves, and her Dragons are special, making this really tough. After a couple of hours planning, I think I figured something out. First, I lead with Funk. She hits Gyarados with Yawn, and since she doesn't have any water moves, she just uses Dragon Rage. A second activates Funk's Citrus Berry, and then Ancient Power takes Gyarados to half as she falls asleep. It's a bit of a range, but the second Ancient Power KOs, which I was actually hoping wouldn't happen. I wanted Claire to burn some healing items, but she goes right into Kingdra. I pivot into Punk to eat a Dragon Pulse, and then into Swamp to take a Hydro Pump. I really should have used a Citrus Berry here, and thanks to my mistake, I need to sack my best special attacker. But he survives on literally 1 HP! How did that happen? Okay, I'm so impressed, but now I switch into Shuckle as Hydro Pump misses. I hit Wrap as Hydro Pump lands, taking him under half, but Citrus Recovery allows him to get to 2/3. And that's just enough, as Kingdra's final Hydro Pump sends Shuckle to just 5 HP. But I picked the perfect time to hit Rest, and now I let Kingdra rack up a little passive damage as she just uses Smokescreen a bunch. After Shuckle wakes up, I try Bug Bite a few times before I nab her Citrus Berry, and then switch into Sham, who takes a Hyper Beam! I didn't realize she had that even, though thankfully it doesn't do too much damage. I hit Woodhammer, which doesn't do recoil thanks to Rockhead, but also only does about 1/3. Kingdra hits Smokescreen, and we miss Woodhammer 3 times! With Hyper Beam hitting a 3rd time, I finally take Kingdra out, but I can't use Sham to face the Dragonairs now. I need a backup plan. And I pivot back to Shuckle, who loses only 1/4 to Aqua Tail, which is amazing. I decide to stall her out of Aqua Tails and hit Encore, but she uses Thunder Wave first! This is even better. Now I pivot into Swamp, who gets paralyzed and use Recover. Now I hit a Never Melt Ice boosted Ice Beam, which crits for the KO. That definitely mattered. Now the final Dragonair is in, and she uses Dragon Pulse, which does a decent amount of damage, but Ice Beam sends her to the yellow. Claire heals next turn, but Ice Beam brings Dragonair to the red and freezes, so Claire full restores. But one more Ice Beam brings Dragonair back to the yellow. After Dragon Pulse brings Swamp to the yellow, one final Ice Beam gets us the win. That was wild. I'm so glad we're done here, though now I'm really scared for Lance. That was so many close calls. Magcargo hopping feels so wrong. I passed the Dragon Master test, and honestly, I'm not sure how Claire failed this one. It's just a bunch of softball questions. But with my 8th badge now in hand, it's time to take on the Kimono Girls. This gauntlet is scary to me, and I'm not sure I can do it deathless. Umbreon and Vaporeon in particular seem like the big challenges to figure out. After some confusion shenanigans though, Rock Slide and 2 low kicks take out Umbreon. Then I use Sucker Punch on Espeon, who survives on a Sliver! Psychic takes Shem to 1 HP before his Citrus Berry activates. That was so close. Another Sucker Punch takes Espeon out, but I really thought it'd KO. I guess it was a range. Flareon goes down to a couple Ancient Powers from Funk, Jolteon to an Earthquake from Enroll after some Double Team strats, and now it's Vaporeon. Surf is doing a little too much damage on Chucky, so while I get lucky that he survives on 2 HP, this isn't sustainable. I'm gonna need to put my trust in Swamp. And this turns out great actually. Vaporeon doesn't score any crits, and Surf does less than I can recover with, well, recover. So I can even get a couple Shadow Balls in while I'm stalling Vaporeon out of Surf. On the second, Vaporeon starts using Quick Attack, meaning it's go time. After a crit on the 3rd Shadow Ball, one more takes Vaporeon down for the win. I guess it's time to fight Lugia. The Kimono Girls do a majestic dance, and Lugia, seeking a powerful trainer, emerges. But because they're not a rock type, I'm not catching them. With a few Ice Beams, Swamp takes them out. Arceus is so ashamed of me that he erases my existence after the battle. The Kimono Girls are solidly split on whether I should be commended or not for slaying the Pokemon they've been watching over. In Victory Road, I pick up the last Pokemon I'll get before the League. A Rhyhorn I named Jazz. Jazz has Lightning Rod, though I'd have preferred Rockhead, and a solidly neutral hardy nature. Not bad at all! At level 42, she evolves into Rhydon. While I'm sad we can't get Rhyperior, who I adore, I'm pretty happy with her. And that brings us to the Victory Road rival fight. I don't have a full team because I needed to bring HM Pokemon with me, but this fight is actually pretty manageable. I didn't realize he didn't beat all the trainers in Victory Road though, and I'm disappointed. I always thought that was really metal, honestly. I lead with Funk. Sneasel uses Feint Attack, which does a fit, and activates Flame Body, so I'm laughing. One Lava Plume gets the KO. Golbat is next, and uses Bite, but no flinch, and Ancient Power brings him under half. One more Bite doesn't flinch, so now I just finish him off. Meganium is in next, and I recover as he sets up Reflect. Petal Dance does 40%, and somehow activates Flame Body? I really didn't know it could do that. Lava Plume crits to knock him out anyways. Funk has more health going into Haunter than I thought she would, so she's game to continue. Shadow Ball takes her to a quarter, but her Citrus Berry activates to bring her back over half, after which Lava Plume brings Haunter to the red. A second Shadow Ball hits hard, but Lava Plume crits for the KO to add extra insult. Now Kadabra's in, and it's finally time to switch. I send in Swamp on a Psybeam, losing a third, but now I can just use Shadow Ball as Kadabra sets up Reflect again. This unfortunately doesn't KO, and I make the dumb play of going for Shadow Ball again, which gets intercepted by Disable, wasting the turn. After Kadabra sends Swamp to 40%, Surf finally gets the KO. And now that Magneton's last, I can cleanly pivot to Enroll on a Spark and break through a Supersonic for an Earthquake to get the win! I can't tell you how good that feels after struggling on him for so long at the start of this game. After some training, we're ready to take on the League. Here's my team. I'm leaving Enroll and Stoner behind. My cap is the level of Karen's Houndoom, meaning this will be a little easier at the start and harder down the road as the other Pokemon catch up and level. And with that, we're going in. Will is a mixed bag for us. He's got 2 Zatus and a Jinx, but also an Exeggutor and a Slowpoke. I lead with Sham, who starts out with the Muscle Band boosted Rock Slide. But Zatu uses me first to hit first and flinch. Next up she confuses, but we break through to miss Rock Slide. She uses me first again, but this time no flinch, and Rock Slide gets the knockout! Now it's Slowbro. I don't want to chance a Water Pulse, so I switch to Swamp as Slowbro uses Amnesia. Shadow Ball nonetheless crits to bring Slowbro to the right as she uses Curse. Will full restores because that was too lucky, but my next Shadow Ball gets the drop. A second takes her to half as she uses Curse again. Really bad move choice for this fight, honestly. And 2 more Shadow Balls get the kill. Next up, it's Jinx, who hits Psychic to take Swamp to 2/3, but Shadow Ball looks like it's doing just over half. Psychic does get the special defense drop, but that means Swamp's clear to take out Jinx. I switch into Funk on Exeggutor, and she takes almost half with Psychic. But I use Recover next turn, as Exeggutor sets up Reflect. Now, I just hit Lava Plume, which KOs instantly. Well, that's the other big threat off the board. Last up is the stronger Zatu, and Confuse Ray activates Funk's Lumberry before Ancient Power brings Zatu to the red, before her Citrus Berry activates. Zatu uses another Confuse Ray, causing Funk to hurt herself, but after Psychic, she snaps out and a final Ancient Power gets rid of Will. 4 to go. Now, Koga can't really do much against me, and Funk can wall him a good chunk of the way, so I lead with her and take out Aerodactyl with a crit Lava Plume after he just used Spiderweb. Koga sends out Fortress, who just sets up Toxic Spikes and then falls. Next up it's Venomoth. He's really throwing this fight, huh? And after a Toxic, Lava Plume gets rid of him too. Next up is Muck, and I switch in Punk as Muck goes for Minimize. Shed Skin cures Toxic, and then Earthquake sends Muck to the right as he just goes for Minimize again. But now Koga heals, and Earthquake misses. I hit next turn though, as Muck uses Screech. 1 more hits for the KO. Koga's final Pokemon is his Crobat, who hits a hard wing attack as Rock Slide gets him just under half before his Citrus Berry. So I go for Crunch, but Crobat uses Double Team, and it misses before landing next turn and getting the drop. Rock Slide lands next turn for the win. 3 left. Now, Bruno in this run may actually be the single hardest Elite Four member of any run I've done. If you've only followed the Gen 1 games, Bruno's pretty easy, but here his whole team has super effective stab coverage that's also pretty varied. I don't see a way out of this without losing a Pokemon. After about a half hour though, I come up with a strategy and head in. First, I've used my remaining rare candies to get my Pokemon to level 49 each, since the cap is now level 50. Second, I've taught a couple new moves. So let's get into it. I set up Sandstorm with Punk, anticipating a counter, but Hitmontop goes for Dig actually. And in the process, I learned that Punk outspeeds, so Earthquake Okos! Amazing! Hitmonlee is next, and I realized he's the hardest Pokemon after Machamp here, given just how much damage High Jump Kick can do. So, anticipating it, I hit Protect, and he uses it and crashes. But now, I don't know what the move is, and I wind up flusteredly hitting Protect again. I'm pretty sure I just lost Punk, but Protect works! And Hitmonlee crashes again to take himself out. That wasn't intentional at all, just super lucky, but I'll roll with it. Next up is Hitmonchan, and with Punk at full health still, he can take an Ice Punch for under half before doing 2/3 with an Earthquake. 1 more Ice Punch brings Punk to just 12 HP, but activates his Citrus Berries. Earthquake finishes Hitmonchan off. But now it's Machamp. My strategy here is simple but a little dumb. Switch to Shucky, Bug Bite away his berry, and then Encore him into whatever he's using to waste PP, using Rest if needed along the way. After a flinch from Rock Slide, I get his Citrus Berry for double recovery, and then Encore traps him into Rock Slide. This is definitely the less preferable option for Shucky, but what's nice about it is that Jazz resists Rock Slide. After taking 2, she doesn't flinch and hits a hard Earthquake to send Machamp into the red. Bruno heals, and I bring him to the yellow this time. And after one final Rock Slide, we break out and Earthquake him into the ground. Onyx is last, and even though Earthquake sends Jazz to half, a returning Earthquake just knocks Onyx out for good. I don't know how we made it out deathless, but that Protect was so incredibly clutch. Just 2 left. Our final Elite Four battle is with Karen. I don't have amazing matchups against her, but we can manage. Punk starts us off with an Earthquake doing a third, as Umbreon uses Double Team. 1 more hit, and then Umbreon uses a Feint Attack. But now Earthquake 3 connects for the KO. Vileplume is in now, so I pivot to Funk, who again inadvertently burns through Petal Dance. It's so weird! But Lava Plume leaves Vileplume on a sliver before Burn takes her out. Gengar is in now, and thinking I can stall her out, I hit Encore after switching Shucky in. But she goes for Spite instead. Not ideal, but I can work with it. I go to Funk, who takes her to half with Lava Plume, loses 4 PP, and then finishes her off. Much easier than I thought she'd be. Houndoom is in now, and I can just pivot to Jazz on a Dark Pulse as she stays above half. A second takes her to 6 HP, but she gets the chance to respond with a big Earthquake to one hit. Murkrow's last now, and I can't keep Jazz in, so I just go for Swamp, who takes 2 feint attacks for 30 damage each, and then crits on Ice Beam for the win. Really not too bad at all. Since starting this channel, I've grown to really appreciate how good Encore can be. It's sneakily been one of the biggest savers this run. But now, it's time for Lance. Lance is so difficult, and my Pokemon's attacks look on the margins. So, I'm gonna need a bit of luck. I open with Funk, and Gyarados hits Waterfall, but thankfully no flinch, and it's weakened by the Pasho Berry I made Funk carry, otherwise that would have been game over. I hit Yawn now. Next, I rotate into Shucky to take 1 Waterfall. It does a little more than I'd like, at just under half damage, but now Gyarados falls asleep, and I can freely swap into Jazz, and Stone Edge gets the knockout. Lance sends in one of his level 49 Dragonites. I think this one is the one who has Blizzard, so I swap into Swamp. And I was right! Blizzard only does 26 damage. Now Dragonite uses Thunder Wave, and I can respond with a Nevermelt Ice boosted Ice Beam for the KO. The Dragonite who has Thunder comes in, so I just go into Jazz, who switches in cleanly. Dragonite even misses Dragon Rush, so my KO with Stone Edge is doubly free. What a bad move. The level 51 is out now, and hits Outrage for nearly half damage, but Stone Edge connects for the KO. This is incredible. Lance surprises me and sends in Charizard, who hits a hard Air Slash that activates Jazz's Citrus Berry. And now, 1 Stone Edge gets the job done there too. It's just Aerodactyl left. This battle has gone way better than I expected. Will it continue? Aerodactyl hits Crunch, and Stone Edge connects for the KO! I did it! I beat Lance and Johto without any deaths, at least in this attempt. This feels amazing. So amazing that I didn't even realize until writing the script that I disappeared after the battle. It does make it easier for me to dodge an interview with Oak and Mary when they can't see me though. And now it's time for Kanto. Can I keep my deathless attempt going? What does the attitude of a champion even mean here? I get the national dex, and now I can head on over to Kanto after picking up a root fossil in Cliff Cave. Wait a sec, is that Bill? Because Janine's level cap is at 50, I run right over to Fuchsia to take her on. My team matches up pretty well against hers all things considered, and I lead with Sham, who gets hit with Screech, but a Muscle Band boosted Rockslide KOs. Another Rockslide KOs area does too. Next up is Venomoth, who uses Sludge Bomb, and wow, Sham can't take another one of those, but he won't have to, because Rockslide crits, though I don't think that mattered. Weezing's in now, and I switch to Enroll on a double hit. Next, she uses Toxic, but misses, and Double Edge doesn't quite do half. She uses Toxic and it connects this time, but Stone Edge sends Weezing to the right. Janine heals, so I guess we're in the cycle again. Stone Edge does over half, and then, after a Sludge Bomb, another Stone Edge gets the KO. I'm glad it happened, but I've gotta swap now. Enroll won't last much longer. I go into Funk on a Swagger. That's annoying, but I'm willing to try to hit here. After taking a Nightshade, it's the moment of truth. And she hits Lava Plume through Confusion for the win. It crit, but I don't think it mattered. We're on to Surge now, and even though I can only bring 5 Pokemon with me because I need a cutter, my team matches up well against his with 3 immunities to Electric, so I'm not too worried. I lead with Enroll, who hits Earthquake through Double Team to KO Raichu, though I think the crit mattered. Magneton's out now, and after a Mirror Shot... Oh. I hadn't run the damage calcs here, but I can't believe Mirror Shot one hit. I guess I got too overconfident. I should have given Enroll a Babiri Berry. I paid the price by losing my starter. Rest well, Enroll. Now that Magneton's down, I can switch to Shucky to stall out Electabuzz with Toxic, and then steal his berry. After a full restore, Shucky whittles him down again. Electabuzz falls to Toxic while he's still asleep, so I decide to try and wait for him to wake up and hit Toxic on the Electrode. Even though they set up 2 double teams, I'm able to do it. Then I switch to Jazz and land Earthquake. One more takes out Surge's final Electrode for the win. I guess the deathless streak has ended, but it was fun while it lasted. I quickly do the Power Plant storyline, then hightail it to Pewter City, where I can revive my fossils. First, I revive an Aerodactyl I named Goth. Goth has a hasty nature, plus speed and minus defense, which is an extremely Aerodactyl nature. I then get a Lilip I named Roots, who has a great neutral hardy nature. After some training, Roots evolves into a Cradily, whose grass typing might really help here. And with that, it's on to Brock. I did the calcs this time, I promise, and my team matches up great against his. I lead with Sham, who knocks out his Graveler with Woodhammer, and then his Rhyhorn. Omastar outspeeds, surprisingly, but Brine couldn't kill unless it crit, so I just respond with Wood Hammer and get Sham out of there. I swap into Jazz, who gets hit weakly by Onyx's Rock Slide. Onyx then hits a weak Iron Tail, but Earthquake manages to KO. It's just Kabutops left. I switch to Roots on a Giga Drain, but now, after a surprisingly hard Rock Slide, an Energy Ball gets the KO, and I can move on to Misty. Now, unlike the last 3 gym leaders, Misty is a serious challenge. Of my 9 alive Pokemon, only 2 aren't weak to water. After some planning, I come up with something that might work, but she'll definitely be messy. I lead with Sham, and after Golduck takes him just above half with Water Pulse, a Muscle Band boosted Wood Hammer takes her out, followed by the Quagsire Misty foolishly brought out next. But now Lapras is in, so I switch to Swamp and tank as many Water Pulses as I can until she hits Sing. Once that happens, I switch to Shuckle, who Toxics her and then winds up encoring Sing. So I decide it's the perfect time to switch into Roots. As you can imagine, this is a pretty big misplay, and Roots immediately gets put to sleep. Toxic brings Lapras low enough for Misty to heal just as Encore ends, but he's still asleep! This isn't working. I've gotta switch back to Shuckle, and then I just Toxic Stall the Lapras out for the KO. In the process, I eat Misty's second full restore. But when Lapras falls, Shuckle's both asleep and under half health, so keeping him in against Starmie seems like a bad move. I have to switch. I go into Swamp and try again to eat as many Water Pulses as I can, using Recover where possible along the way. I also hit a Shadow Ball. It looks like it's doing half, maybe a bit under since it didn't trigger a berry. But so long as I can sustain the stall without much bad luck, I should have Misty beat. Except Starmie gets Swamp confused, and he hits himself to go into the low yellow. He can't take another hit now, so I've gotta switch. The only problem is that my best option is clearly Roots, who's still asleep. I bring him in, and Starmie instantly confuses. That's gonna be great. He then keeps using Ice Beams. Thankfully, Leftovers is giving back a little recovery each turn, but it's not doing enough. I'm gonna need to switch soon if he doesn't wake up. Okay, final turn. Roots is at a quarter health. And he wakes up! But does he hit through confusion? Yes! Energy Ball gets the KO, and I've got a new badge. That was so awful though, Misty is terrifying. I think I'd have switched into Punk if Roots had hurt himself though. He has a decent amount of special defense, and would have survived an Ice Beam without a crit before I pivoted to Goth, who's holding a Pasho Berry and could outspeed for a crunch. Shortly after, Punk evolves into a Tyranitar. Because I never got Relicanth to show up in a swarm, this is the final Pokemon we're getting. But what an incredible get he is. And up next, it's Sabrina. I'm feeling pretty confident here. I think Punk can solo her. Let's see if I'm right. Espeon hits a Shadow Ball. And gets the drop! Oh, that could be awful. But Crunch KOs. And then Alakazam's out. She just goes for Reflect, and Crunch just barely doesn't KO. But her Citrus Berry activates and takes her just under half. That's kinda a lot of recovery actually. But okay, moment of truth. How much does Energy Ball do? Well, with a Rindo Berry and Sandstorm, it barely does anything. Crunch takes Alakazam out, and now Punk totally walls Mr. Mime, so after a Light Screen, Crunch brings her under half, and then after a Mimic, one more gets the job done. Punk is incredible, I'm so happy. But that happiness is cut short, as Erica could be a real challenge. Thanks to needing Cut, I can only bring in 5 Pokemon, but I only have 3 who aren't weak to Grass. I decide to start with Punk again, who sets up Sandstorm with his ability. Then, as Jumpluff goes for Sunny Day, Punk hits Stone Edge for the KO. Fantastic. Tangela is next, and I switch to Roots, who stalls Tangela a bit with Leftovers and Sludge Bomb before Final One takes her out. And now, going into Victory Bell, the stall continues. I use Confuse Ray to try and rack up extra damage, but Victory Bell literally doesn't get hurt at all, and breaks through repeatedly to hit hard Leaf Storms. Leftovers keeps Roots stable, and Erica wastes her second full restore before Roots KOs Victory Bell in the red. I guess I can't use Roots on Blossom then. But no big, I just switch to Shuckle, who takes a soft Giga Drain and then hits Toxic as Blossom uses Solar Beam. After getting hit to 2/3, Bug Bite gets back a ton of health. Bug Bite combined with Toxic slowly work together to get rid of Blossom without any major damage. Good job, Shuckle! 2 badges left. With this Pokemon Center, nature is slowly returning to Cinnabar Island, but sadly, Blaine isn't. Considering I'm a Rock-type trainer, you might think he'd be really easy for me. And you'd be right! I lead with Swamp and Surf instantly gets rid of Magcargo. Magmar's in now and has access to Thunder Punch, so I just swap into Jazz, who's immune. I should have given her a Persian Berry though, because Magmar confuses her next, and she hurts herself. But after that, and Magmar using Sunny Day, she hits Earthquake through Confusion to get the knockout. It's just Rapidash left, and I decide to just keep going for Earthquake, but Rapidash uses Bounce. I switch into Punk to both get rid of the Sun and tank Bounce, but after it doesn't paralyze, I realize he's perfect for this bit of the fight. I go for Earthquake, but Rapidash keeps using Bounce, so I just stay in and protect on Bounce turns to ultimately stall him out. After 2 turns of this, Rapidash goes for Flare Blitz, doing barely anything, and I've done it. 1 Earthquake eliminates Rapidash, and I've just got my 15th badge. But Blue is a big challenge. His coverage is terrifying. With 4 of his Pokemon able to hit my team super effectively in multiple different ways, I need to plan hard for him. I ultimately came up with a solution that I think will give me my best shot, though I'm banking on good luck for sure. Let's see how it goes! I open with Jazz, who instantly drives Blue's Executor into the ground with a Mega Horn. Gyarados is in now, and after Intimidate, he uses Waterfall. Oh no! Anyways, her Pasha Berry kicks in, allowing her to take only around 40%. Then Stone Edge takes him out, making Intimidate useless. But now, the single biggest threat is in, Machamp. With No Guard, Dynamic Punch, and Stone Edge, I need to do some serious stalling. I switch into Shuckle on a Dynamic Punch, and then, after Stone Edge takes him to a third, he hits Toxic through Confusion. Okay, perfect. Leftovers brings him just under half, but I don't want to risk using Rest, especially when he's confused. I switch to Jazz to take the Stone Edge. Then I go into Goth to take the Dynamic Punch. But he actually uses Earthquake instead, so that was free. I'll take it. Back to Jazz for the Stone Edge, and then I go back into Goth for a Dynamic Punch. He survives on a quarter, and then his Citrus Berry activates, bringing him just under half. And Toxic has just brought Machamp to the red. Now, it's time to put my plan into action. I hit Fly, and thankfully no confusion as Blue full restores. Next turn, Goth snaps out of confusion. That's amazing. Do we KO? We do! And this battle just got way easier. I switch into Roots for Rhydon as he just uses a shameful Thunder Fang. And then Energy Ball goes above and beyond and gets the KO here too. Now, it's just Blue's weakest Pokemon left, so I switch into Punk, who takes 2 Flare Blitzes before taking out Arcanine with Earthquake, and then Pidgeot with Stone Edge after return. If Goth had failed there, this run would have gotten a lot trickier, but now, I've got all 16 badges and I'm so proud of him. After I pick up Rock Climb from Oak, it's time to face Red. I finally make it to the top of Mount Silver. After some planning, this is my final team. As much as I love Swamp, Champ's versatility felt much better for this battle. Red's got fewer big threats than Blue, but those threats are way more dangerous outside of Machamp. Let's see how my sturdy rocks can manage. I open with Punk. This is entirely for Sandstream. Now the rest of the battle is going to be in a Sandstorm. Pikachu outspeeds and lands Iron Tail, which gets the defense drop. Ugh. But Punk's Citrus Berry activates to take him back over half. And now he gets to respond with an Earthquake that KOs. But Blastoise is in now, and with so many powerful moves my team's weak against, he's the single biggest threat on Red's crew. I switch into Jazz anticipating Flash Cannon, but Focus Blast lands and sends her to a third, and gets the drop. I've gotta switch. I go into Roots, but Blastoise uses Focus Blast again, and it does a quarter. That's actually ridiculous to me. I can't believe he connected on consecutive Focus Blasts. Blastoise uses Blizzard, but it just activates Roots' Yachi Berry, so he's still over half. Energy Ball connects, and leaves Blastoise on a quarter post-Sandstorm. I think Red will heal, so I go for Toxic, and I'm right. Blizzard brings Roots to a quarter, and then Energy Ball brings Blastoise to the red after Poison. Anticipating another heal, I go for Toxic, but Blastoise goes for Blizzard, and it lands, taking out Roots! I can't get over Red's amazing luck on these low accuracy moves. Rest well, Roots. But now that Poison took Blastoise down, I bring in Sham to meet Red's Lapras. Brian does under half, and then Woodhammer leaves him in the red. I go for it again, as Brian leaves Sham in the red, and one final Woodhammer gets the KO. Venusaur's out now, and I go into Goth, who gets crit by Sludge Bomb, but no poison, and Fly erases him way easier than I thought it would. Next up is Snorlax, so anticipating a Blizzard, I use Roost and then Fly, bringing him to around half. Blizzard connects as Goth lands, but it activates his Yachi Berry, bringing him just over half. One more Fly leaves Snorlax on a sliver. But Goth survives Blizzard, and the Sandstorm wipes Snorlax out. Red's just got Charizard left, and since it's the end of the run, I might as well just use Goth here. I go for Rock Slide, and it lands, wiping Charizard out and getting me the win. I just beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon SoulSilver using only rock types. This was one of the hardest challenges I've ever done. Starting with Rival 2, there weren't many easy stretches at all. Even in Kanto, where I had more encounters and team diversity, there was always a challenge like Misty or Blue. That said, that team diversity made this run really interesting, and with so much move versatility, this run was probably the most fun I've ever had planning specific battles. My team only really started to grow after Whitney, which feels late to me until I remember that half the runs I've done on this channel have been like that. But here I really needed it. Once I got more Pokemon, however, everything became really interesting. Though it also helped that this was after the second rival battle, which truly made me lose my mind. Pokemon like Corsola, Tyranitar, and Rhydon were all ones I expected to be really clutch in this run. And they were, but I wasn't expecting Sudowoodo to be so good. An incredible offensive move diversity plus Rockhead was extremely clutch, and thanks to him, I could deal out a variety of super effective damage fast. Outside of Shuckle, he might have been the MVP of the run. Rockhead was something of a revelation for me in this challenge, honestly. I've never used a lot of Pokemon who had it before, and I not only had 3 on my team, but 2 of them could learn great recoil moves that were all of a sudden free. And speaking of, Aerodactyl usually disappoints for me, but this one really put in work. They're usually both super frail and not quite strong enough to do what they need to do in my experience, but Goth gave me so much help, both with blue and red, so that really changed my mind on them. Overall, this was one of the most interesting runs I've done, with a lot of easy and really difficult battles. I had a blast learning about how all these Pokemon work together and struggling with them to push to the end. And that's a wrap. If you liked this video, please feel free to give a like or subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions or videos you'd like to see me do, please feel free to leave a comment, at me on Twitter, or email me with your suggestion at ed40plays@gmail.com. Catch you all next time!